I've been playing Days Gone on the Steam Deck OLED, and honestly, it's such a satisfying combo. The first thing you notice is the screen. That OLED contrast makes the world feel richer. Deeper blacks, punchier highlights. So night rides and shaded forests look incredible. Little details like the grime on the bike, headlights cutting through fog, and ember glow in campfires just read better on the panel. Performance-wise, the deck handles this surprisingly well when you tune it. I tend to cap at 40 FPS. It's a great balance between smooth gameplay and conserving battery and thermals. You can chase 60 if you want, but expect to lower a bunch of settings or run a lower render scale. If you want the visuals to stay pretty without huge drops, try 80 to 90% render scale, drop shadows and foliage a notch, and turn down motion blur. That gets you a really pleasing image without overworking the hardware. Exploration and riding feel great. Traversing the map, scavenging, and normal combat are all nicely responsive. The Steam Deck OLED's screen depth just pulls you in. The atmosphere of those lonely roads and misty forests comes through in a way that makes handheld play feel premium.
Hold on, something's blocking the road.
Horde moments are still dramatic. You'll notice the complexity of those scenes, and with your settings tuned for 40 frames per second, they're totally playable and tense. That's the core thrill of Days Gone preserved on a handheld.
Ready?
Battery life is what you'd expect from a modern AAA. It's solid for a session, but not marathon length. With medium settings and capped frame rate, plan for around 2-ish hours depending on brightness and what you're doing. Turning brightness down and staying at 40 FPS stretches that out. Also, the deck does warm up under load, but not excessively. It's within normal operating temps for sustained gaming. If you're recording or streaming, I'd suggest testing your preferred settings first so you know the visual quality and battery draw you'll get during a long capture. And small touches, like lowering foliage a bit or turning off unnecessary post-processing. Keep the image clean while saving performance headroom. Bottom line, Days Gone on the Steam Deck. OLED is immersive, playable, and visually striking. Tune for 40 FPS, be smart with a couple of settings, and you get one of the best handheld AAA experiences out there. Especially if you love moody, atmospheric open worlds. Now, for anyone wondering about that 90Hz OLED refresh. Yeah, the deck screen can do it, but Days Gone itself won't quite hit 90 frames per second. The game's just too heavy for that, even with tweaks. What you can do, though, is run the screen at 90 Hz while capping the game at 45 frames per second. It's kind of a hidden sweet spot. The higher refresh rate gives smoother frame pacing, so camera pans and bike riding feel cleaner and more fluid, even though it's technically 45 frames. It's not a night and day leap, but it's a nice quality bump that you feel more than you see. I did test dropping resolution and effects to see if it could flirt with true 90 frames per second, and yeah, no dice. Even with aggressive scaling, the GPU just can't push that consistently. But the 90Hz display still helps. It reduces perceived stutter and makes those micro movements, like aiming or quick turns, a little more natural. So if you've got your settings dialed in and battery life to spare, running the OLED panel at 90 Hz with a 45 frames per second cap is a surprisingly slick way to play. It's that little extra polish that makes the deck OLED feel more